Hey, hi, and howdy, Crucible Critters, and welcome to the first ever AndyForge video. I've been working on this for a little while behind the scenes, and I'm super excited. There's a lot that I want to do with this channel, and a lot that I have planned, but for today we're going to start off a series of deck openings. I plan to make my way through this here Age of Ascension display, so without further ado, let's get started with deck number 1. Gotta bust it open here. There has been so much news for KeyForge as of late. You know, everything coming back. The Master Vault just got finished transferring over. I was able to look at all my decks, set up a Ghost Galaxy account, as well as just, there's so much stuff for the future of KeyForge that I am super pumped about. Tomorrow, actually, my locals are doing a Mass Mutations Alliance Seal Tournament that I'm participating in, and I cannot express how pumped I am to get into some actual, like, local play, some slightly larger scale stuff. There's gonna be like 20 people. Set this over here. This will be deck number 1. Let's open up this bad boy. I didn't plan super far ahead. I'll need a better opener for these deck boxes. Alrighty. So, let's see what houses we got. Starting off with, oh, that is the Archon deck card. Let's see. Okay. Shadows. Dis. Untamed. A good showing for Age of Ascension, that's for sure. It's a really interesting looking Archon. I absolutely love the purple Archons. I think they're super cool. The name is Ample Wilhelmina of the Swamp. Okay, awesome. So give me just a moment. I'm gonna cut. We're gonna zoom in a little bit, and we'll get to revealing these here cards. Here's a little bit closer look at that Archon again. The Ample Wilhelmina of the Swamp. Let's get into this here breakdown. So we're gonna move the Archon card off over to the side here. And we're starting off with Untamed, Perilous Wilds. Destroy each elusive creature. Not bad. Oh, I think this is a legacy. Do Fairy, elusive. And then Reap, gain 1. And 2. I don't know if it says it somewhere on the card, but yeah, this is from Coda. Wow, okay, awesome. Rusnar, fight, destroy an artifact. If that artifact had an amber bonus, you gain that much. Marma's Swarm has power equal, or gets additional power equal to the amber in your pool. Not bad. Nox gets +3 power for each neighbor it has. Ooh, Grovekeeper. I like this this witch. At the end of your turn, give each neighboring creature +1 power. That can build up pretty big. Double Grovekeeper. Cool. Glimmer. Glimmer's always nice for some recursion, especially with these discards, depending on what comes out. Return a card from your discard pile to your hand. Fang House, Assault 3, Hazardous 3, double Fang House. A very powerful board, to say the very least. Darna. Play, gain 1 amber for each damaged friendly creature. Well, there seems to be a lot of fighting in Untamed, so I wouldn't be surprised if we actually got some stuff off with this. Ooh, and then we are into Shadows here with Rigged Lottery. Play. Each player discards the top 5 cards of their deck. For each shadow card, for each Shadows card discarded, its owner gains 1 amber. They have no shadows. That is big for us. Lethal Distraction. Choose a creature for the remainder of the turn. Whenever this creature takes damage, it takes an additional 2 damage. Not bad. A decent action card. It's got an amber bonus, so it's always worth playing. Perplexing Sophistry. This is a fun card. It's amber bonus that it always comes with. Comes into play a lot when you're having to think about it. If you have more amber than your opponent, they discard a random card from their hand, and then you draw a card. Hidden Stash. I love this card. Amber bonus and archive a card. Yahtzee Gang. Action steal 1. It's got a lot of power, so it can stay on the board for quite some time. Whistling Darts, deal 1 damage to each enemy creature. Not bad. Ooh, that could be a fun combo with the action card Throwing Stars. Play, deal 1 damage up to 3 creatures. Gain 1 amber for each creature destroyed that way. Swindle. I have a love-hate relationship with this card. Steal 3 is pretty powerful, but a whole turn to do it is kind of a big sacrifice. Ronnie Wrist Clocks, the legend. Everybody loves him. Play, steal 1 if your opponent has 7 more, steal 2. Lamindra, deploy elusive and gives elusive to neighbors, some good creature protection. Dusk Chronicles, play if your opponent has more amber than you, draw a card. If you have more amber than your opponent, archive 1. So you get a bonus either way. Bad Penny, that's going to be a good target for our throwing stars. Ooh, and we're into Dis. I love this card, Hecatomb. Let's hope we get some good destroyed creatures. It's an action. Play, destroy each Dis creature. Each player gains 1 amber for each creature they controlled that was destroyed this way. Eater of Dead, an interesting purge card. Fight/reap, purge a creature from a discard pile. If you do, put a +1 power counter on Eater of the Dead. 3 of Fates, some nice creature control, destroying the most powerful creature. This might work against us a little bit. I don't think that we had super high power creatures, but we have a lot of ways to get the power higher, so it might not. Oh, well, and we have 2 of them. Have to be careful how we play those. And we've got Tentaculus here. Your opponent must pay you 1 amber in order to use an artifact. I love the verbiage of pay here, because a lot of the, like, oh, your opponent can't steal, oh, your opponent can't do this. Things that say pay, like this, or, oh, there's a Shadows artifact. I think it's Commission's Office. I'll show it on the screen now. You'll see which one I'm talking about, and I'll pop up its name. But it says pay as well. It breaks around a lot of stuff. And we're here with some amber control, Pandemonium. Each undamaged creature captures 1 from its opponent. A double of that, a lot of doubles in this deck. And then Yerk. Play, choose and discard a card from your hand. You have to do that if you can, but if you have no cards, Yerk's the last one, you can still play them. I love the different Yerks, and then I think also Dendrix, mostly because they have this flavor text from Iona Demonologist. They aren't that bad if you can pay their price. Iona Demonologist is so interesting to me because they don't exist as like a card. We haven't seen art, we haven't seen Iona Demonologist, but their quotes are on, I think, all of the Yerk's, Dendrix, and then maybe 1 or 2 other disc creatures. Some fun little lore there. Gub, while Gub is not on a flank, it gets +5 power and gains taunt. 6 power taunt is nothing to laugh at. Some more amber control, awesome, from Charette. Play, capture 3. Ooh, Binding Irons. Your opponent gains 3 chains. And last card, Banish. Put an enemy creature into your opponent's archives. Wow, it doesn't seem bad. I don't think that there's anything in this deck that the deck does particularly well, that it's like excelling at, or that it has a particular goal to meet. But I think it's definitely not bad. I think the Dis Shadows combo is always great. That Do Fairy, let's find out. I think it is a legacy. Yes, it is a legacy from Call of the Archons. That's so cool. Okay, well, give me 1 second. I'm going to parse through these cards and give you guys a deck breakdown. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back again. I've got the deck split up here. I'm going to break it down into a couple of different sections. The Amber Control, Expected Amber, Artifact Control, and then Creature Control. There are cards in all of these that are going to go into kind of different sections. So like Tentaculus, who's at the forefront of our Amber Control here, also is technically a small amount of Artifact Control. I've just split them up into different spots where I felt they were the most potent or most prevalent, even though a lot of different cards will serve a lot of different purposes, especially steal cards when it comes to Amber Control / Expected Amber from stealing. So most of the steal stuff I'll end up just putting in the Amber Control section. But let's go ahead and get into it. The deck wasn't as strong as I honestly thought, but that's kind of a theme, it seems, for me, as I get so excited about KeyForge, I over-evaluate most of the decks because they seem really fun to play. Untamed was kind of what brought us down. I'll pull up the SAS number here so you guys can all take a look at it. In 3, 2, 1, boop. So there it is. 58. The anti-synergy was coming mostly from Perilous Wilds, because I have a lot of elusive creatures, and then I have a Shadows creature that just gives elusive. Then the high power with the Three of Fates, and a couple of other minor spots where it kind of pulled itself down. But like I said, it seems like Distant Shadows were okay. Untamed didn't come out a whole lot, just because the creatures are all fine, but that's kind of exactly where they sit. They're good at fighting, they're good at reaping, but they don't gain a bunch of additional benefits that come specifically from that. I will say the Legacy Dew Fairy still super exciting. Any Legacy or Maverick is super, super cool to see pop up in a deck. But I will also go ahead and discuss here, right there. We'll look at the counts here. So there was 13 bonus amber. That was pretty good, I think. I don't know what the average is. I don't know if there's a way to pull that up. But 13's not bad. I mean, it's a little over 2 keys. It looked like there was a lot of it kind of sticking in the Dis and Shadows portions. Action cards and creature cards. We got 16 and 20. It's a lot of creatures and honestly a lot of actions. There wasn't a single upgrade or artifact in this deck. So, and then of course the 2 archiving there comes from Dusk Chronicles, and we can get that to go off, and then Hidden Stash. But let's get into the individual breakdowns here. So this is our Amber Control section. Tentaculus is at the very front with that pay condition anytime they use an artifact. Tentaculus and Rusnar actually work against each other in a really weird way, because Rusnar wants to destroy the artifacts, but Tentaculus kind of wants to stay on the board and keep the artifact on the board so that they have to keep paying. And then of course we have Yahtzee Gang with the action steal one. Pandemonium, each undamaged creature captures 1 from its opponent. This is pretty good. I think the issue with the Pandemonium in this deck in particular is the main creature control stuff is actually damage. So like Lethal Distraction, Whistling Darts, Throwing Stars, that all stuff is damage. So, or rather, that would make it better, because I'm hitting my enemies with that. So, never mind, I can block out the enemies from doing it. So we can take decent advantage of Pandemonium, especially with the Whistling Darts. I had completely mixed that up there, my apologies. 2 of those guys. Then there was Swindle. Again, you know, Swindle, Steel 3 is so strong. I mean, it's half of a key. But there are so many turns, especially with Shadows in Age of Ascension, where you feel like you can achieve a lot more, do a lot more with a whole turn than Swindle will provide, especially if your opponent has some sort of exponential Amber Control in their deck. So say you steal 3, but then they're like, okay, Interdimensional Graft. You know, you go over a key, they just end up getting that back. Or they have, like, what is it? Burn the stockpiles and stuff like that, you know, just other ways to kind of get you away from the amber that they took. Ronnie Wrist Clocks is fantastic, of course. The ability to steal 2 at 7 is just so great, because in general it'll be that 6 to 7 threshold. It'll pull away a key, and then just the fact that you can get steal 2 off of a creature, and the amount of like recursion that comes generally with just creatures is pretty awesome. And then Charette with Capture 3. So the Amber Control is okay. I think that it's not that there are a lack of Amber Control cards, just a lack of the kind of potency that comes with them. Pandemonium being double-sided isn't great, and then Charette just holds on to it. Tentaculus is so specific. I feel like most people are just going to hold off on using their artifact until they can get rid of Tentaculus. But better than not having it. So now we're moving on here to the expected Amber, starting off with Darna. Play, gain 1 for each damaged friendly creature. I'm not sure how often that'll come up. There's a lot of creatures in Untamed that fight, so I feel like if we can have them on the board before her, we can fight into them. But Fanghouse is interesting as one of the card that we had 2 of. I think I have them here. Just that Assault 3 is an issue, because if it's fighting into one of those creatures that will typically leave it at a, you know, low amount of HP to benefit off of Darna, it's either going to kill that creature or the creature's going to have enough power to kill Fanghouse outright. So you can't benefit from that. And we had 2 of those. Do Fairy, Reap, gain 1, so gaining 2. This is our awesome legacy. No real comments on that. Gaining 2 from a Reap is great. Hecatomb is such an interesting card. We didn't get any destroyed effects, unfortunately, and this could work against our Charette. But other than that, I think often it's worth it, just sacrificing all your disc creatures to gain Amber. Or say your opponent has a giant disc board, and you're like, okay, I think, I can spare them some Amber to get rid of that target outright. Throwing stars I put in here. This, honestly, I put in here mostly because Bad Penny is in the deck. The recursion, as long as I can have Bad Penny on the board, throwing stars is a guaranteed 1, and so hopefully with Whistling Darts we can make something more come of it. And then Rigged Lottery, of course, is super cool. It's a great way to gain a lot of Amber, and then also to make your way through the deck. The winner is Old Bruno again. That's funny. Old Bruno is that one Shadows rare, I think, that's elusive and play capture 3. Brings him up in the flavor text there. So expected Amber, it's honestly pretty high. It's not too bad. I think that some of it's pretty situational. It might be hard to maintain, but a lot of the expected Amber, honestly, of this deck is coming from its bonus icons anyways. So having some dedicated cards, I think, is enough. Then Artifact Control, real simple section here, just Rustnar. But Rustnar is pretty awesome. I think the fact that its fight kind of stinks. 4 power is, if you're going against, a big Sanctum Brobnar deck, 4 power, it will just die or it'll get fought into pretty quickly. But, given the right opportunity, especially if the opponent has elusive creatures, Rustnar can be really important for certain targets. And then lastly here is the creature control. So starting off with that Perilous Wilds, it's not a particularly powerful creature control as is. And then the fact that I've got so many elusive creatures really makes it harder to achieve. Lethal Distraction is pretty great for the remainder of the turn. Whenever it takes damage, it takes an additional 2. This is actually a great combo with the Whistling Darts and the Throwing Stars, just because we have 2 other Shadows cards that do just 1 damage. You can combo that really well. Then Banish, put an enemy creature into your opponent's archives. This is pretty great, especially if they just played a big turn from that house. Locking something behind like an upkeep step like that is just, can be pretty damaging. Take a turn or 2 to get that creature back out. Whistling Darts, as mentioned before, deal 1 damage to each creature. It's pretty, it's fine. It's great for popping wards, it's great for that Lethal Distraction, it's great for setting up Throwing Stars. I think all in all, it's not crazy, creature control, but it's definitely putting in some work in this deck at least. And then lastly are both of our 3 Fates. Again, they're strong. I think that they will work against us in some cases, but that there isn't, anything super... I feel like it could be played around pretty easy. So maybe I'm overthinking it when it comes to it hurting ourselves. Definitely would rather see a just whole board wipe than 3 of Fates in this deck, but, you get what you get, and it's not bad. It's a pretty good card, especially since it's got an Amber bonus. And then last thing that we'll look, I'll go ahead and put it right here, is the speed and board. There isn't anything super to note. The board power is pretty low, all things considered. Speed is interesting because we have a couple things that pull away from it, like Swindle and Bad Penny. But then you get, the Hidden Stash, the Dust Chronicle, Perplexing Sophistries, Yerk, all different ways to either like mill or just go through the deck. We do have a little bit of recursion from that Glimmer, although I'm not sure there's a specific target that I would look for there. And then our Disruption is, the Binding Irons for 3 chains, and the Eater of Dead being able to purge and then give itself some power. And of course our creature protection is Lamindra giving elusive to neighbors, Gub giving taunt and gaining 6 power, and then Grovekeeper giving the additional stuff. It's, all in all, 58 sass isn't huge, but I think it would be super fun to play, and I think that if you're willing to set up, games with your opponent, with your friend, who, play around the same sass level, this could be fun. If I'm going against somebody with another 58 sass. I love Dis a lot. I just love the way it plays. So being able to purge some stuff with Eater of the Dead, or knock out some of my own things for that Hecatomb to gain some amber. I think there's some turns here that are super, super interesting. But with all that being said, we are at the end of my first ever video. Thank you to anybody and everybody who made it this far. It has been so exciting, a little bit nerve-wracking. I can't wait to make more of these, to make a bunch of other stuff. I've already got all these ideas rattling around, but we're starting off pretty simple here. Don't be afraid to hop in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys think, any criticisms, any words of encouragement. The KeyForge community has always been so amazing, and I would love, love, love to interact with you guys. If you've gotten a Age of Ascension deck recently that you love, or a Dis Shadows Untamed deck that you really like playing around with, send the link. Show me what you've got. Expect more of these videos in the future. You guys are awesome. And as a good friend, Zach Armstrong always says, the most important part of KeyForge is the friend sitting across the table. You guys have a great rest of your day.